Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're getting the Instagram going here. Welcome to Clone Questions Live, episode 60. Episode 60 of Clone Questions Live. Been doing this for a little while now. I did have a little hiatus, but here we are. We're back. Let me get this chat going. Instagram usually takes a second or two for people to get notified, people to start joining. So that's always getting going. But we're here on YouTube as well, watching the reruns. They got about 59 other episodes, easy hour-long episodes of Clone Questions Live. We do have a whole bunch of questions lined up already in the queue. But as people join in, if they have more questions, they could click that question mark button down below and ask a question as well. Clone Questions Live, episode 60. If you got something to spark it up. If you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from in the chat. I always like to see how wide ranged, how far and wide people join in from. So it's always cool to see. So as you guys join in here on Instagram, let me know where you guys are joining in from. Click a comment right there and let us know where you're joining in from. I'm in Southern California, in the Palm Springs area, where it's hot as hell. But I'd rather deal with the heat than to deal with snow. That's just me. That's just my opinion there. But welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. As you guys join in, comment down below where you guys are joining in from. And if you guys have a question, click that question mark button down below. We do have maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, maybe 24 questions already queued up from my stories. I always like to put the story up about 24 hours before to get some questions already in the queue. But if you guys have a question, you can click that question mark button down below or just click comment and let us know where you're joining in from. If you have something to spark up, now would be the time to do it. Welcome to Clone Questions Live. Like I said, it's been a little hiatus. I haven't done a live in a little while, and that's on me. And I used, so there is some updates. I'm working on a workshop. So I'm going to have an in-person SOP workshop hosted at a cannabis lounge so that you could consume as we're going through the SOP workshop, which would be clones, mother plants, and pests and pathogens, right? The IPM section of it, be it damping off, be it wilting, be it powdery mildew, soggy stems, anything like that. But I'm going to be hosting. We as I as me, an in-person workshop in Palm Springs. TBD as far as the date, but here shortly, and I'm going to make it on a regular basis. And I'm going to be doing a monthly meetup at the same place in Palm Springs. So if you're anywhere near the Palm Springs area or can make it over to the Palm Springs area, you could join in for the workshop, because I feel people learn differently, right? And if you agree, give me a couple likes down below. People learn differently. Some people can just read the book, implement it, and they're golden. They're good. Some people need to listen. Some people need to be more tactical, get their hands on something. And some people need that face-to-face interaction where as the question comes up or something triggers a certain thought, they could get that immediate response right there. So people learn differently. And I think, digitally covers so many people, but the in-person workshop is really meant to spend literally, the entire afternoon in this workshop, in this coaching session. So if you're an owner, operator, or part of the nursery team in your facility, this workshop's for you. But as you guys join, let us know where you're joining in from. Click that comment down below. Let us know where you're joining in from. If you have a question, click that question mark button down below as well. Get your question up in the queue. Mo Grown says, yo, what's up, Paul? I'm at a Thrasher skateboarding event right now, but tuning in. Hell yeah. Mo Grown, thanks for the support. I appreciate you. Where's that event being hosted? Let me know down in the comments down below. But yeah, guys, let us know where you're joining in from. Homegrown Boricua OG. Pretty sure, that's Puerto Rican. Stefan Actual. Aaron GQ says GOAT. Appreciate that, Aaron. Let us know where you're joining in from. We got a whole bunch of questions lined up already. So if you guys have a question, click that question mark button down below and let us know where you're puffing on. We got Aaron joining us from LA. Hell yeah. I'm actually going to Orange County, not LA, just like North Orange County, borderline, some of the outskirts of LA on Monday for a coaching client, doing an on-site visit, checking in on the very first batch of clones. So this client was throwing away 1,000 clones out of 4,000 a week. They were throwing away 1,000 in the trash. Maybe had 20 to 25%, maybe 1,000 that were sellable in 14 days. And the remaining 50% needed an extra up to a week to become sellable. So we're on we have 2 batches. It'd be day 9 and day 10, I believe, on their very first batch of clones. And they've already made it to this point without losing any clones, which previously they were losing clones in the first week due to wilting, due to soggy stems. They were having a bunch of leaf curl. None of that has happened so far in this very first batch. So if you're not running the Clone Coach SOPs, I don't know what you're doing, because it's one batch. Everybody gets results on their very first batch. You have nothing to lose. 14 days, your clone game will be changed forever. We got Stephen Actual, Stephen or Steven? From Kansas City, Louisiana Oil and Gas. I'm sorry. Louisiana Oil and Gas says shout out from Louisiana. Boricua OG says hell yeah in Oklahoma right now. OKC. For everybody, Steven says it's Steven, not Stefan. Nice. Got it. Thank you. I don't mind asking when I'm not clear on something. It's having that mindset of like not being afraid to ask questions and always learning. If you're not 100% sure, you're only human. Just ask, Kansas City, Louisiana, Oklahoma. I want to do a tour with this workshop as well, because I think that'll be a really cool way to tap it into all the markets and help alleviate the need for people to travel. And I would do the traveling instead. So for everybody out there, if you like the idea of an in-person workshop that's at least 4 to 6 hours, maybe the full 8-hour day, once we include the food and the networking or the social hour or whatever. Who likes the idea of an in-person workshop to go over clones, mother plants, and all the pests and pathogens you deal with in propagation? If you like that idea, give me a couple likes. Give me a couple likes right now if you like that idea. And if you like that idea to come to a town near you, because like I said earlier, people learn differently. And I think it'd be really cool to have an in-person. There's no substitute for that in-person interaction, and so we could dive deep into each of the sections in the SOPs, covering mother plants, covering clones, covering wilting, covering clones per square foot, covering the A, B, C grades of clones, covering uniformity, pest pathogens, algae, stem rot, deep dive. And not only that, I could give some goodies, So in the Palm Springs workshop, I'm going to be giving away a genetic coach's candy for everybody that joins. So it'd be a great way to come get a nice gift bag, get a genetic from myself. Excuse me. Maybe get some freebies from some brands. Break some bread, have some smoke in a nice, comfortable indoor setting, and up your nursery game so you could take that back to your facility and start making the best clones ever. And of course, you'll get the SOPs. I'll have those printed out as the gift bag as well. So if you like the idea of that, give me a couple likes down below. If you like the idea of an in-person workshop where you get physical SOPs, you could get a genetic, you could spend the afternoon with coach and other people in the same boat, talk shop for the entire afternoon, and just walk away with a bunch of value and knowledge and take that transformation to your nursery. We got some likes coming in right here. If you like that idea, give me a couple likes, because sometimes the ideas are just in my head and I'm not sure if it's valid. You know what I mean? So discussing it with people and getting the feedback is always a good thing to do. We got some more likes trickling in there. We got some fires, we got some hearts. And like I said, to start it off, I'm going to start it in Palm Springs. and then get that demand there and get some reps under the belt, and then take that show on the road. The only trouble, not trouble, but the only like downside of taking it on the road is I'm going to have live plants during the workshop to do demonstrations on and stuff. And to do that in other places, I guess I would just need to find someone locally that has, maybe a Clone Coach team member locally that has some high quality plants, or at least a high quality mother plant that we could use for demonstration purposes in other cities and states. But here locally, I can make that happen pretty easily. But in other places, we'll have to figure it out once we come through. Let us know where you guys are joining in from. We got some more people coming into the Clone Questions Live first episode, and I don't even know how long, but it's been a little while. I've had a hiatus. That's on me. That's my bad. But this is episode 60 of Clone Questions Live. Episode 60. I think that's a pretty cool milestone. What do you think? Premium Exotics 209 says, "What's up, Coach? I just bought your SOP, but I can get my mother room to keep a constant humidity. I always have it at 45%. Premium Exotics, your mother room was only at 45%. If you have full-size mother plants, there should be enough transpiration in that sealed room to have 55% easy, 60% easy. I would want to review your equipment, your room, your environment, right? Whether there's any leaks, seals, things like that. If your DHU is setting correctly, don't always trust your sensors and your settings. Sometimes you have to adjust the equipment so that your ambient environment is where you need it to be, and it may be a different number on your equipment, but as long as your room is hitting that, adjust as needed. But 45%, you're either don't have a sealed room, have the DHUs pumping, don't have enough moms, or have an ambient environment outside that room that's just really dry. Yeah, man, paint the picture for me if you could a bit more. Premium Exotics. I could help you see where there's air leaking out, We got the Gilbert Grower from Arizona. It's in your name, right? Gilbert, Arizona. We got Matty Boy Akina from Hawaii. Hell yeah, we got Arizona, Hawaii today. What do we have earlier? Oklahoma, LA. I love it. Gilbert Grower says, "Congrats on the 60 episodes. I appreciate it." John is from Virginia, VA. Let's see here. Roots Garden says, "AC sometimes dehumidifies the room. We have to shut off boilers so the AC doesn't overwork during the hot days." Yeah, it definitely pulls some moisture out of the room, but it shouldn't be double-digit moisture. You know what I mean? And it really shouldn't be enough to take away 20 points of humidity. You should be able to, you're going to take some humidity out, but if you have such an abundant start to begin with the plant count, with the irrigations, enough moisture there to begin with, that if your AC was off, you would be at 70% plus, then it'd be kind of hard to, but every room is different, right? I literally have no idea what your room looks like or anything like that. But yeah, AC definitely takes out some humidity, but I don't think enough to compare, a DHU or something like that. Hell yeah, guys. But if you guys have more questions, click that question mark button down below. You'll see there's a whole bunch of questions lined up that I'm going to go through. I'm going to be able to display it on the screen here so that everybody could follow along. So if you guys got a question, click that question mark button down below. And if you haven't let us know where you're joining in from, comment down below where you're joining in from. We got the Coex joining in from Florida. Hell yeah, welcome. Baxter McGillicuddy is from Downey. That's not far. That's in the LA area. Armando says, "Hey dude, where can I get a Spanish version of the best clones ever guide?" It's a good question, Armando. I have a Spanish version, but with this new membership, it's a different app and platform, so I don't have the ability to have like variants, so where you could select whatever language like I used to have. But look, Armando, if you join the team, shoot me an email and I will get you the copy of the Spanish version, PDFs and videos. What else I'll do, which probably is a smart thing to do to begin with, is just load them up into the membership so that once you join, you'll have access to whatever language you have already. So the files already be there. So Armando, join the team, clonecoach.com, shoot me an email, and I'll get you those files directly. And in the meantime, it's a good good reminder for me to just upload all the other languages I have already into the membership so that all the members could access any language that they want. Good question there, Armando. Hope to have you join the team soon. And look, guys, if you guys want to have some questions, if you guys, who out there right now in the live, who's dealing with some clone issues? Wilting, purpling, stunted growth, curling leaves, soggy stems, slow rooting time, anything like that. And I think, well, we haven't hit everybody, but more and more that's going to be becoming less and less of a problem because people are running the SOPs. But if you guys got any issues like that, let me know down below. What are you dealing with? Right now is the time for some free game. You know what I mean? Because we're going to get started on the questions that I have queued up here. And like I said, we got about 24 questions to get through. So that takes a little while. So if you guys got a question, click that question mark button down below and add your question to the queue. Armando says, thanks a lot, bro. No worries, my pleasure. Solo Grow says, I'm taking clones, but some of them won't take. Be more specific. The Solo Grow. Look, it all starts with your mother plants. If your mother plants are healthy, your clones could be healthy. If they don't take, it depends on how far they made it and what stage they didn't make it past to determine where your focus should be on. So when you say they don't take, is there literally, if you break apart the cube, is there literally nothing on the stem popping out? No roots whatsoever? Then they're not callousing and striking. So that first 3 to 4 days is where you should focus on. Let them breathe more, generally speaking, warm things up, and that should help the entire process. Solo Grow. All right, who's ready for some questions? Click, give me a couple likes down below if you're ready for all of these questions we got lined up from the stories. And if you have a question, click that question mark button down below and get your question added there. I know we've had some come through the comments, which is all gravy. But if you got another one, click that question mark button down below. We're going to get into these questions here. And if you guys are just joining, welcome Terps Genetics, welcome TMF1, welcome Kush Push, NCL Farms with the Z, Unity Cannabis Co. Let us know where you guys are joining in from, guys or girls, by commenting down below. In the comments, let us know where you guys are joining in from. It's always we got Florida in the house, we got Oklahoma, we got LA, Arizona, Hawaii. Usually when I was on it every week with my lives, we had people from all over the world. Israel, New Zealand, Germany, Canada, Mexico, all over the place. So it's really cool to see, but looks like we're keeping it domestic this time around. Terps Genetics is from Minnesota. Nice. Solo Grow is from Michigan. The Mitten. Welcome, M. Stephanie. Let us know where you're joining in from down below. We got Minnesota. We got Michigan. We got Hawaii. We got Arizona. We got Oklahoma, LA. And we're going to get into these questions right now. So if you guys got a question, you're just joining, click that question mark button down below and let us know where you're joining in from. Click that question mark button down below and enter your question there so we can display it on the screen and go through this Q&A together. We're going to get into that in the next minute or so. NCL Farms is joining us from the UK. Hell yeah. Kizzy5243, welcome. Let us know where you're joining in from down below. Trifecta Natural, welcome. Alpha Gardens, how's it going? Gullah Guy 843, let us know where you guys are joining in from in the comments down below. We got the UK, we got Michigan, we got Oklahoma, we got LA, we got Hawaii, all that good stuff. Alpha, you want to join? Let's do it. I know we touched on the DMs. You wanted to do a little consult, maybe had some questions. You declined it. Well, welcome from Michigan. We got Missouri. We got Syracuse, New York. Hell yeah, everybody. Alpha, I don't know if that was an accident or not. You sent a request to join the live and I accepted, but it got declined. So I assume it was a wrong button pushed there. But Alpha, I know you had some questions. So right now would be the time, be a great time to click that question mark button down below and asked, let me know the questions you had in mind. Kind of be an easy tester teaser of a consulting session with me, a coaching session. So if you got any questions right now, everybody, right now is the time to click that question mark button down below and add your question, because we're going to get into that Q&A right now. Who's ready for the Q&A? Give me a couple likes. Click that like button down below if you guys are ready for the Q&A. And right now is the time. Well, you still got a little bit of time, but right now is the time. Get your question in there. Click that question mark button down below, and we're going to get this Q&A started. If you're ready for it, give me a couple likes down below. All these questions, or most of them, came in from the stories. So the day before live, I put it up on the stories there. So get some questions in there just for anybody that can't make it. But if you're here joining us live and you do have a question, click that question mark button down below and get your question in there. So we had those likes come in. That means the Q&A is on. Favorite hype candy gas strain. It's going to be my own. Coach's Candy. Coach's Cut. I got what I'm puffing on now. Super gassy. This is a client of mine that just grew this. This stunk up the car. It was double bagged. Still stunk. Candy gas. Super dense. Super dense. We are in the desert, so the temperatures didn't get as cold in this room with this heat waves that we've been getting. So it didn't come out as purple as it could. But if you have that controlled environment and you can get those temperatures down like any strain, the purple's gonna fucking pop on it. So right now, my favorite is my own. And if you want this genetic, this will be the genetic that I'll be sharing during my workshops that I mentioned earlier in the live, which would be in-person workshops starting out here in Palm Springs at a cannabis lounge where we could consume. You'll get a cut, you'll get a genetic. We'll spend the afternoon together going over everything clones, mother plants, pests, pathogens, scaling your nursery and getting all your questions answered in a intimate setting where it's just no nonsense. We're here to learn, we're here to gain value, we're here to take this back to your facilities and transform your operations. So if you guys are interested in that, just stay tuned to this page and I'll let you know what's up with that work. Alpha Gardens, yeah. Did you enter a question? I hope you did. Let me see. We got some other ones. Alpha says preferred cloning media. I'm gonna do a media comparison here soon because there's pros and cons to all of them, right? But generally speaking, I'm going to stick with something that's pre-filled because most of the time I'm doing enough to where it's worth it to get pre-filled trays, and I'm not individually placing a rooting plug into a cell one at a time by the hundreds or by the thousands. Okay. So starting with that, I'm going to say I like pre-filled trays. Secondly, would be to match my media that I'm transplanting into. If I'm transplanting into a 4-inch Rockwool cube, start with Rockwool, right? I'll have my rooting media as Rockwool. And there's actually pre-filled Rockwool trays now that Grodan finally came out with. So it's pretty cool. I want to try those out. If I'm going into a cocoa, you could go with any sort of cocoa-based plug or a cocoa peat-based plug. And there's a few different types there, but my preferred is a pre-filled cocoa peat-based plug. That just does the trick for me. That's what I go with. Because I'm going to transplant into cocoa. They root fast, they're pre-filled. There's no buffering or pH issues or concerns or extra steps to take. Yeah, they work great. So any sort of pre-filled cocoa peat-based plug is what I'm going to run with. Now, if you notice, I'm not dropping brand names right now. I'm cautious with that nowadays, right? I do want the go-to coaches, rooting media and have that be the brand. I just got to get those brands to come up with the deal. You know what I'm saying? Good question there. Apt Rage says, I have a clone at home that needs transplanted, but it's in one of those huge cubes. Do I cut the cube to get the plant out, or do I plant the whole thing in dirt? I'm lost. If it's a big enough plant, in a 4x4 cube, transplant the whole thing. If you have a one little clone in the corner of your cube and the root mass does not fill up that entire media, then cut and or rip apart the excess media that doesn't have any root zone. But if the media has root zone, transplant the whole thing. No need to be that lost, buddy. Alpha Garden says, awesome. Thank you, bro. My pleasure. My pleasure. We got another question here. And if you guys are just joining, let us know where you're joining in from in the comments down below. We got the UK, Oklahoma, LA, Arizona, Michigan, Minnesota, all of that. So if you guys are just joining, comment down below where you're joining in from. And if you have a question and you want to see it displayed here and answered, click that question mark button down below and enter your question. Adept Rage says, thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. We got the OC. We got Tucson, Arizona. We got St. Louis. What's going on? Oh, Vatash, how are you? How are you? We got a Clone Coach team member joining right now. Question is, best way to get rid of fungus gnats. All right. When you're eradicating any sort of pest, you want to start with physical removal. So if it's a section of plants or single plant that has like the most infestation, physically remove that plant. If every plant has fungus gnats on the top layer and they're just like flying around, remove that top layer of media, right? Say you're in cocoa, take away an inch of that cocoa, right? Physical removal. Next would be trapping those adult flyers with sticky traps, right? Now you want to start eliminating their food source. So if you have any algae or anything like that that's a food source, take away that food source. Or if you're overwatering your top of your media and that never really dries back, well, it's a perfect environment for fungus gnats to breed. So if you take away their food and take away their home, great start. Now we want to interrupt their life cycle. So this is where you're going to start implementing a rotation of different insecticidal products or larvicidal products to start eliminating or interrupting the life cycle of the fungus gnats. Okay, so you've done your physical removal, you've taken away their food, you've taken away their environment that they thrive in. You start interrupting their life cycle, so you're not getting more and more adult population, and you're trapping and killing the adults as they come through, and eventually you're going to get this at bay. But cleanliness, keeping things dry, keeping things preventative is really the best way to, and have things that are like biologicals that have more longer lasting effect against things, and not just because there's chemical, there's oils, and there's like biologicals, and the biologicals keep working, so if you have an active root zone and a really active rhizosphere, which I prefer, it's great to implement bioinsecticides to just have that longer lasting protection. Things like mosquito dunks, right? I think it's BTI is the active ingredient. That is going to be a great one for you. I'm sorry. I'm actually sipping some tea because I had my throat kind of flare up and get a little scratchy, a little swollen, so I haven't really been talking all day either. So thank all the talking. And this is my first smoke of the day. Just drying it up a little bit, making it a little itchy. Question from the stories. If you guys like that question, give me a couple likes down below. Give a couple likes down below if you guys like that question. And if you guys are just joining, comment down below where you're joining in from. We got people joining in from all over the place. This is Clone Questions Live, first episode back in a little while. I don't know how many weeks it's been since my last episode, but this is episode 60, and it's been a little while, but hey, I'm only human. I'm back. Here we are, getting it going. Even with a little scratchy throat, sipping tea, I'm still here, talking my ass off, answering questions for you guys. Next question. And if you guys like that, you guys support, just give me a couple likes down below. Great way to support. How do you get more fuzz than plain Jane roots? This is from a story that I posted yesterday, showing a real close-up of really fuzzy white roots where all of the little hairs are sticking out, and that's the kind of root zone that I want and prefer, because what I would consider like a butter noodle, right? Just a solid root, but like no fuzziness. I feel like that's not the full potential of that root zone, right? You're not getting the full potential of that root zone yet. So how do you get more fuzz? I chalk it up to a really active rhizosphere, microbial inoculants, biological activity in your root zone, those things, and of course the proper drybacks, water to air ratios, feeding with fresh, cool water that has plenty of oxygen in it. But that fuzziness, I chop it up all to my inoculants, my microbials. Let's see here. Alpha Garden says preferred clone size, length, and node count. Usually I'm running a 7-inch dome and I'm leaving at least an inch at the top. So for that kind of length, I usually take a pair of scissors. I don't have a pair of scissors here. Pair of scissors, and I take the tip of the scissors to the newest node, and roughly that length is where I cut it. And about the length of a scissor gives you about a six-inch clone or so. And that's usually a great standard way for everybody that's cutting to get the same size clone. So Alpha Garden, I run, it's easy. I run a size of the scissor basically from the tip to the end of the handle, measured about that much from the newest node growth, and you should have plenty of height. You could go shorter than that, you could go a little bit longer, but you're going to end up where your foliage is touching the top too much, creating some pathogen issues or some sogginess issues there. Matthew Garcia says, Clone Coach, will you ever make a seedling SOP? Yes, and I'm going to add it to the SOP membership. So why did I switch from digital product to a membership? It was for two reasons: for ongoing support and future updates. That's just the way. If you want to stay on the team and keep supporting the game, you get the ongoing support as much as you like, and all future updates, be it seedling SOP, be it tissue culture SOP, be it all the different languages, be it everything. So if you want that, join the team today, because it is gonna happen, isn't it? It's happening. NCL Farm says, what's the power bill like for a big project? Always wondered. I asked because most people in the UK growing bypass their electricity. Shit, depends what you consider a big project. And I would assume, since in the UK it's not as friendly, that's just a way to help you stay covert, right? But over here, shit, you could have a random trap warehouse that has a $10,000 bill running like 30-40 lights, and go pay that cash every month, and it's whatever, but like big commercial operations, shit, man, I don't know exactly, but the electricity would usually run anywhere from like 15 cents per kilowatt to like 22 cents per kilowatt. So you could run the math on that, but probably, just like I said, depends how big of a project you're considering. But usually 15 cents to 22 cents per kilowatt hour. Alpha Gardens says 3 to 5 nodes typically with that size. Yeah, it's strain dependent, right? You're going to have at least 3, be it the newest node, the newest growth that goes untouched. The node right below that's usually smaller, underdeveloped, and then the third node below that's usually a bit more developed. Beyond that, you're going to have the nodes on the stem. So it's strain dependent whether you have 1 or 2 more nodes there. Usually more than that, that's like too much, but it's strain dependent. So 3, the newest, and the next 2, at least 1 more if the cut allows for it, and you could leave that node on. I would leave it so that when you go to top, you're taking away the 1 and you're leaving the 3 behind as that initial topping. So yeah, 3 to 5 Alpha Gardens, depends on your plant structure. Next question here. We're getting the live going again. It's been a little while since I've been on it, but here we are knocking it out. I hope I can last the whole live, because I didn't bring any cough drops in here. Let's see. Next question. How often should I be thinning a mom plant? Is less better or more better, not including tops? For mother plants, I like to remove, like the maintenance on them, I like to remove big fan leaves, like the fully developed red stem fan leaves that are easy to snap off. Those are just easy pickings, right? You could tell your staff, a worker, to just get me the big leaves. That's it. Because with one snap, you're usually taking away a lot of surface area, allowing for a lot more light penetration. And those next size fan leaves will develop a lot faster and stuff. So for mother plants, what I'm doing is taking out the big fan leaves and I'm topping. I'm not really taking away or thinning out stems or node growth. I want to leave as much node growth as possible to maximize my clones per square foot. So for me, how often should I be thinning them on? Weekly de-leafs is a great maintenance, and weekly topping. The topping will fluctuate based on the clone production schedule. So if you're going to clone soon, you can't top right before you clone, or else you're not going to get that extended full size uniform clone out of it, if that makes sense. Good question there. If you guys like that question and the other ones we got going and all the 20 other questions we got still waiting for us, give me a couple likes down below. Pluma Sanchez, what can I do to raise my humidity in my room? I have around 40 to 50 mothers, but I'm still struggling to have the room at least 60%. I'm always at 45, 50. Your DHU and your whether your room is sealed or not, and your airflow. That's where you got to dive into. There's no reason. And or you could say you got 50 mothers, but how big is the room that those mothers are in? If you have 50 mothers in 1,000 square feet, well, if you have 20-foot ceilings and you have a single layer of moms, well, things like that are going to be bigger factors there for you. Question from the stories says, what equipment I need to have for your SOPs? This is a really good question. Who else likes this question? Give me a couple likes down below. What equipment do I need to have for your SOPs? This is a great question. Use everything you got. My SOPs will work with any nutrient line that you're running, any rooting media that you choose, any genetic that you're running, be it metal halide, ceramic metal halide, HPS, LED lights for your mother plants. It doesn't matter. You don't ask all of the team members. I'm not telling you got to change your lights. You got to buy this. You got to buy that. Use whatever you're running with. The SOPs will work with whatever you're running. So you don't need to go shopping and get a big equipment to make my SOPs work. You got to have your room dialed in, right? So if you're missing equipment there, that's just regardless if you're running the SOPs, but you don't need any special equipment or special nutrient lines or special brands or specific items to make the SOPs work. They will work with any nutrient line, any rooting media, any type of mother plant lights that you're running. Because with whatever equipment you're running, we could adjust our inputs as needed to get the growth that we desire, right? So I can make it work with whatever setup you got. Good question. Who else likes that question there? And for everybody joining, let me catch you up a little bit. Comment down below where you're joining in from. We got Medellin, I think I saw. Elias La Fresa from Medellin, Colombia. We got Oklahoma. We got Michigan. We got all kinds of places joining us right now. Okay. So what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I'm going to be hosting an in-person SOP workshop in Palm Springs in the near future. So if you like the idea of spending an afternoon with me covering clones, mother plants, pests, pathogens, scaling your nursery production, labor, materials, cost of goods, profit and loss, everything nursery, give me a couple likes down below. That workshop is going to be hosted at a cannabis dispensary, so you'll be able to consume. There'll be gift bags. There'll be printouts, physical printouts of the SOPs. We're able to consume, smoke, learn, spend the afternoon together, and get the SOPs in that different type of learning environment where you could really go back to your facility as an owner, an operator, a staff member of a nursery team, and come prepared, certified to just change everything up. So if you like the sound of that, give me a couple likes down below. We're going to get that workshop launched in Palm Springs to start. And as that gains enough traction, I want to take that on the road to other states and other places and host workshops and other places. So if you like the sound of that and you want that type of learning environment, give me a couple likes down below. Alpha Garden says, just purchased a yearly subscription and a one-on-one coaching call. Look forward to chatting, coach. Hell yeah, Alpha Gardens. Welcome to the team. I know we touched base on the DMs previously. You hopped on here, had a couple questions. I got them answered for you. Glad to have you on the team. I know you got a big operation out there. All right, I see you. Got a big operation, and I'm super stoked to help you maximize your nursery production, efficiency, success rate, uniformity, consistency, all of that stuff. So welcome Alpha Gardens to the team. Hell yeah. We got 506 Genetics joining us from Costa Rica. I love it. Next question here. How to sell weed seeds from 25 years ago, or is it just candy now? Quality's quality. All quality moves. It's not easy to create a demand for a strain that no one's asking for, right? Everybody's asking for candy, so if you grow that, there's a market for it. But if you have something unique, you have to start marketing what you have. Okay. I know there's a desire out there for unique strains, especially old stuff. And if it's quality grown, there's a market out there for it. You just got to find them and they got to find you. So got to put in the work to get some of that stuff moved nowadays. Next question. How to develop side branch and clone rockwools. How to develop side branching in clones rockwool. You got to start with nodes, okay? If your clone is just a bare stem and like 1 to 3 really tightly spaced internodes that are super underdeveloped and it's kind of flat, kind of like a T, right? If that's your clone to begin with, of course there's no side branching because that's 5 inches of stem is bare. So how do you develop side branching in your clones? You got to leave as many nodes on your clone as possible, okay? And on the mother plant, you got to make sure it's a fully developed stem so that those nodes have developed enough to when you clone them and then you end up transplanting that takes off and gives you crazy side branching. That, and of course, when you transplant, you got to give your plants enough space to branching out. Okay. So if you have everything super tight together for more than a week, you're not going to get side branching. All right. And if you didn't leave any nodes on the stem or not enough, you're not going to get big side branching. So how to develop more side branchings and the rockwool part is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's rockwool, if it's root riot, cocoa, doesn't matter. Next question. If you guys like that question, give me a couple likes down below. I think that was a pretty good one. And developing a really robust vegetative plant, be it for future mother stock or for flowering, is super important. Got a couple likes coming in. A couple people like that question. Next question says, what's so bad about the noodle-shaped roots? This was based on a story that I posted earlier with really a close-up of really fuzzy white roots, which is what I prefer and which is what I go for, and which is what all the Clone Coach team members experience, compared to just a solid, I call it like a butter noodle, right? Like just plain ass noodles, spaghetti noodles with no fuzz, no hair, nothing like that. The question is, what's so bad about it? You're not maximizing the potential of your root zone. Microbes unlock things in your root zone that can't be unlocked in any other fashion or form. The healthiest plants have the healthiest root zone. And the healthiest root zone, in my opinion, is an alive root zone. It's an active root zone, okay? Rhizosphere. When you have that, it's like eating healthy, right? Think of your own microbiome, your own gut, your own bacteria, right? If you're eating things like sauerkraut, probiotics, prebiotics, kimchi, you're feeding a bunch of good microbial activity to your own system, you're going to have a healthier digestive system, a healthier health balance, just everything in more homeostasis, right? If you don't eat any microbial, you could still be alive, you'll still be fine, but it's just a different level of health. So what's so bad about it? The bad part is that you're just not as healthy as you possibly could be in the root zone. So I like fuzzy roots. It's just like undeniable. 506 Genetics says, what equipment I need before I get your SOPs, like just to buy the pack and start? like I said earlier, someone else asked that earlier. You don't need any special equipment. The SOPs will work with any nutrient line, any lights, any anything you're running already. If you're missing a couple things, like say the microbials, you could add that. But equipment wise and stuff, as long as you will know if you're missing a big piece, but you don't need any special equipment to run the SOPs. So go to clonecoach.com and join the team today. We had Alpha Gardens join the team earlier. Got a huge operation. Got the yearly subscription. So that support for someone that gets a yearly subscription, that is as much support as they want for a year. For a year. If you're going to be cloning for more than one month, look at the value of that, you know? But everybody's different. Some people are like, no, I learned what I learned. It works. I'm good. I'll leave you alone. But some people want more support or the ability to tap in to that support. So if you want to start making the best clones ever, guaranteed in 14 days or less on your very first batch running the SOPs, go to clonecoach.com and join the membership today. Question from the story says, how much is your power bill? Oh, I think it was because it was from a previous spot that I posted, so that might be the question. But I don't know what the power bill was, but power out here goes for, like I said earlier, about 15 to 22 cents per kilowatt hour. You run the math, and I think that's a good point. Well, not a good point, but a good note. That math, right? I'm so used to running that math. Is everybody out there able to run that math pretty easily as well? Determining kilowatt hours, figuring out the cost, how much, where to look on a data plate to see how much watts it's pulling or how many amperage it's pulling at whatever voltage. Are you guys all up to speed with that, or would you like me to touch base on that kind of? And like I said, I'm not an electrician. Not like I said, but I'm not an electrician. But to be a grower, you got to understand power a little bit. You got to understand how much power you have available. You got to understand how much power your equipment's pulling. You understand which breakers you can put what lights into and stuff. So I consider that basics. But what do you guys think? Should I dive more into some of those math equations to figure out power consumption, some electricity basics, things like that? If you guys like that idea, give me a couple likes down below. If you guys like the sound of that, getting some of that electricity math going, figuring out your kilowatt hours, figuring out your costs, understanding your sub panel, how many amps you got, basics like that. If you like the sound of that, give me a couple likes. Alpha Garden says, light intensity, I'm currently running 1 to 140 micromoles at the top of the domes. What is your preference? That is about where I run it to. It's light dependent. So like I said in another reel, not all PAR is created equal. So sometimes if you're running, say, like the Fluence or like the Spiders, like 3-4 bar dimmable lights, and you're getting like 120 micromoles, it's not the same type of light from like 4-foot strip LED lights. So, but that's still within range of what I want to see, because with the dome, you're going to lose another 20 points. That plastic layer reduces the light intensity about 20 points. You'll know you have too much light if the tops of your domes are drying out or not holding condensation, and your leaves start to curl and burn and things like that. Next question: what is your preferred cloning media? We did touch on this earlier. This question here. My preferred is a pre-filled tray with a cocoa peat based plug, because I transplant into cocoa. Now, like the pure cocoa, like the dehydrated ones, those are nice because they're super light, easy, but I don't know if any of them are like pure cocoa pre-filled. I'm not 100% on that. I don't think there is. But that's a nice touch, because like with shipping it in cases and boxes, some of the pre-filled ones that are like pre-moistened as well, say like Root Rights or things like that, you get a full case and that thing weighs, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds or something. I've carried quite a few cases in my days, you know. So that's one little downside. But that's my preferred cloning media. So on that question earlier about, touching deeper on electricity, the math behind it, know how much power you got to play with, kilowatt hours, things like that. I asked if that was a good idea. La Caja Cuarto says yes. Alpha Garden says absolutely. That would be great info. Right on. Okay, so that'll be, I think the perfect place for that is the workshop. So, because there's going to be math involved, right? We're going to work through math problems together. It's kind of hard not kind of hard, but I think it's better to learn math in person than remotely. Just my 2 cents. Alpha Garden says using two 4-foot Lux lights and ion clone lights on a standard cloning rack, 2 to 3 bars per clone shelf. I usually run 2 bars per clone shelf with about a 6-inch height from dome to light. That usually gives me that 120 to 130. If you're running 3 bulbs, I would want to increase that height to probably 10 to 12 inches. So maybe you only get 4 tiers on a shelf versus like 5. The ion clone lights, I assume, are just standard or similar style 4-foot strip LED lights that are like 18-watt LEDs, is my assumption. If that's the case, then they're pretty interchangeable. But if it's, like I said earlier, something like a Fluence clone light that's like a dimmable fixture that if you put it past 50%, you're toasting up your clones. That's the like exception to the rule. But Alpha says, yeah, correct. Very similar to Lux. All right, they're pretty much interchangeable at that point then. Next question. If you guys are liking the resurgence of Clone Questions Live, episode 60, I've had a hiatus for I don't know how many weeks, too many, right? But we're back. We're answering questions. We have team members joining. We got people from all over the country and other countries joining us as well. We're getting some ideas to provide more value, like all the electricity stuff, promoting, reminding you of the expansion of what I want to do to help everybody, which is the workshops, the in-person workshops, spending an afternoon. Probably end up being like 6 to 8 hours. I would assume probably call it 6 hours safe. To do the SOPs in person in Palm Springs at a lounge, get a special cut from Coach, get some goodies, get a gift bag, get the education, and go back to your operations certified. Clone Coach certified. So if you guys like the sound of that with Clone Coach, Clone Questions Live being back on, give me a couple likes down below. And if you guys are just joining or haven't let us know where you're joining in from in the comments down below. It's always cool to see the wide range, the wide scope, the wide reach of people joining in, and people all over the place making clones, wanting to make the best clones ever, and running their operations. And it's really cool to see how far it touches. So please comment down below where you're joining in from. It's always cool to see. We got people from the UK, Oklahoma, Michigan, Minnesota, California, Arizona, Hawaii, all over the place. Next question here. On what day in the cloning do you rewater the plugs where the clones are sitting in? Look, if you want all those specifics, you're like, oh, well, what day do you water? Hey, well, what day do you do this? Hey, what day do you do that? Look, I got the 14 days covered for you in the Clone Coach SOPs. That's in the membership on clonecoach.com. 14 days guaranteed, get your results. 14 days or less. All right. I just like to say 14 days as a way to under promise, over deliver. But basically, what day do you clone or what day do you water? Call it a week. And then the second week has its own watering schedule. But if you really want all those details, which it sounds like you do, go join the team. Next question here. La Caja Cuartos is watching from Mexico. What part of Mexico? It's been years since I've been to Mexico, man. I gotta go. Gotta get my passport. Kush Push says, I'm in New York. Will you send cuts? Kush Push, how many do you need? Do you need 1? Do you need 3? Do you need 6? Are you just looking for a genetic? Are you trying to fill a room? Do you need 50? It's so wide range when people say, you got cuts, you got cuts. Some people are like, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, let me get 2. Come on, dude. I do commercial quantities, If you just want the genetic, well, you're going to have to pay a premium price just for the genetic. And like, oh, I want 2 of them for $5. Nah, dog. Ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. Another fuzzy root question from the story says, do fuzzy roots mean that the clone is lacking phosphorus and iron? No. No, fuzzy roots do not mean that the clone is lacking phosphorus and iron. Your foliage and your stem will tell you what nutrient deficiencies your plant is suffering, if any, by the coloration, the discoloration of the leaves, the stunted growth, the purpling of the stem, anything like that. That's going to tell you where your nutrient deficiencies potentially lie. But a fuzzy root does not mean your clone is lacking phosphorus and iron. Let's see here. Next question. Here. In Spanish, it says, Hola, ¿cuál será para ti el mejor medio para colocar los esquijes? Saludos de Uruguay. Para colocar los esquijes. What's esquijes? What's that mean? Let me look that up real quick. Esquijes. Is that like stem or cutting? Okay. It's Spanish for cutting. ¿Cuál será para ti el mejor medio para colocar los esquijes? Saludos de Uruguay. Pues en la planta de la mamá, ahí es donde voy a escoger los esquijes, porque estoy creciendo el parte de arriba de la planta para que puedo cosechar, harvest, esos, ¿cómo se dice? Esquijes. No quiero agarrar de los lados, no quiero agarrar de abajo, lo de arriba, agarro de ahí, ya se bajó y crece otra vez y ahí otra vez agarro lo que ya ha crecido ahí. So, para mí, el mejor medio es formar la planta de la mamá para que los tallos de arriba están creciendo en una manera uniforme y así voy a cosechar los esquijes y ganar todos los clones de ahí. Saludos de Uruguay. See, we got people from all over the place. All over the place. Kush Push says, looking for some good genetics. I got a solid genetic. I'm running a genetic. And I'm sourcing a couple other ones. But I got a genetic. So if you want that genetic that's fucking killer, shoot me a DM. But it's not going to be $5. I'll tell you that. But I'm sure with New York, look, if you're in New York and you want the solid genetic that's pumping out here in California, this is it. Get it for yourself and stop paying the cross country tax. You know. Question from the story says, "What's your preferred root zone temperature?" I don't measure it too often, but I do know my water. I like to be about 69, 70 degrees, and I do know with my ambient temperature being about 80 degrees, my root zone tends to be in the mid 70s, mid to low 70s. My root zone. So if you're there, it's plenty, because if you get too hot, if you get 77, 80 degree root zone temperatures and you have that moisture there, your oxygen levels and the moisture is going to degrade faster. You're going to hold less oxygen in the moisture and you're going to start leading into pathogen problems. So, soggy stems, things like that. So my preferred root zone temperature is probably going to be mid to low 70s. Mid to low 70s. Everybody that's just joining, click that comment down below. Let us know where you're joining in from. If you have a question, click that question mark button down below. We're going through all of them in the Q&A style, one by one, displayed on the screen like you just saw here. And if you haven't joined the team and you want to make the best clones ever in 14 days, guaranteed, go to clonecoach.com and join the team. Let's see here. Next question says, what's a good setup for a beginner? A tent, a tent with a single light for mothers, and depending how much space you have, a little shelf with a little light, or even some space on the floors far enough away from the light to where you could just do your propagation there. But a single tent, the single light, a tray in a dome is a great setup for a beginner, but it depends how big you want to go. When I started, I decked out the entire room, and that was my beginner stage. I had 3 400-watt lights and a 4x2 shelf, and just started ripping it. So everybody's beginner is a little bit different. Depends how much you want to go for, but it could be as little as one plant and one tent and one little tray of dome. The first time I ever took clones, I took a full tray of clones. It took 50. So when people do like one or two, like, I have less experience doing 1 or 2 clones at a time than I do doing full trays. Question from the story says, do you leave all the nodes on the clone or do you remove them? Heart. I leave them. I leave as many nodes as I can on the clone so I get a really bushy plant. The only time not the only time, but it's best to remove the nodes that are like touching or really close to the media, because when you're watering and stuff, it's more susceptible. But basically above an inch from the media and above, leave as many nodes as you have. Now, every strain is a bit different, right, with the internodal spacing and stuff. So sometimes you'll have a lot of nodes and sometimes you won't. So it's kind of all dependent on your growth. But I basically leave as many nodes as I can. Next question here. If you guys are just joining and have a question, you can click that question mark button down below and add your question to the queue. This is Clone Questions Live, episode 60, the first episode in I don't know how many weeks. I've had a little hiatus, but I'm back. All right, Clone Questions Live is back, episode 60. Next question. What's the highest EC do you push your mothers at? 3? 3.0? It's the highest. You usually run a mom. Under LED lights, it's a minimum of 2.5 EC, maximum about 3.0 EC. For mother plants, if it's not LED lights, then I could go 2.0 to 2.5. But what's the highest that I push them at? About 3.0. Next question here. How many plants do you run per light? I assume you mean for mother plants, because for flower it's different, right? Once they don't keep growing. So for flower it's like anywhere from 9 to 12 to 16, right? It all depends. But for mother plants, it's kind of similar. It's either going to be, but kind of in reverse. So when the plants are smaller and younger, the plant density is higher. So call it 16 per light, 1 per square foot. As the plants get bigger, we reduce the plant count from 16 to 12, from 12 to 9, and sometimes even from 9 to 4. But in the meantime, these plants are getting bigger and bushier and wider, so you're not really losing any canopy. The canopy always stays full, all right? We don't want big holes and big gaps in the canopy. Canopy stays full, be it from 16 plants or from 4 plants. But that canopy stays full. So how many plants do I run? When they're younger, the plant count is higher, up to 12, 16. As they get older, we reduce that down to about 9, 6, or 4. For mother plants. Next question here. To de-leaf or not to de-leaf? Not a clone. Bloom, de-leaf. For bloom, de-leaf. For even mother plants, de-leaf. The intensity of the de-leafing is up to you. But you absolutely, at the bare minimum, remove the biggest, most developed fan leaves. There's the ones that are just easy to snap off. Bare minimum. Then you could go to the next size from there. And from there down, you could leave that because it'll grow up and you could come and pick the easy shit off. So the question to de-leaf or not de-leaf for not a clone for a bloom, absolutely. De-leaf your plants, even if it's mother plants. De-leaf. We had this question come up earlier. Will you ever make a seedling SOP? Yes, I will. And that will be added to the Clone Coach membership. So that's why any future updates, anything like that, will go to the membership. So that's the purpose of the membership, is the ongoing support and all future updates, including a seedling SOP, including a tissue culture SOP, including anything else. Next question. Flats or drums? Flats. Chicken wings. I actually had some yesterday. Chicken wings. I go with flats. Because if you just take those 2 bones out and it's all fucking meat. You know what I mean? No nonsense. Now, on the drums, I do like that chunkier, like just heartier white meat part on the drum. It's just like a nice, like round, chunky part of meat. But I think I'm a flats guy. What about everybody out here? Are you flats or are you drums? I know it's from left field, but are you flats or are you drums? Let me know in the comments down below. Mr. C. Groen says, what's the membership? So the membership is what the SOPs have essentially transformed into. I'm thinking of just offering the SOPs as a standalone product, but the membership allows for ongoing support and all the future updates. So if you just purchase the SOP for a one-time fee, you're not going to get all the future products that come down the pipeline. But if you're a member, all the future products down the pipeline, be it seedling SOP, be it pest and pathogen playbook, be it the scaling your nursery, all that will be given to all the members automatically. And that's allows that membership to just have one place for any updates and stuff versus resending out, documents and things like that. So what's the membership is what the team has essentially transformed into for ongoing support and all future updates. I think I still will, because people are asking, so some people are just like, no, I don't want the ongoing or, blah, 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 just one-time fee. I'm like, cool. Just understand it doesn't come with all the unlimited support and all future updates and all future products, so just understand that. 506 Genetics says, what's your opinion on the cloning machines? Mostly ask because they get roots in just 4 days. So I got asked a few times in this live, what's my preferred media? And I usually go with, cocoa peat based plug. But I also touched on the comparison between all media, rooting medias. A cloning machine or turbo cloner, aero cloner, whatever you want to call it, the biggest pro that it has is the rooting speed. Okay. So you'll get roots the first week easy with the rooting machine. That's the biggest pro. The biggest con is it depends what you're transplanting into. You don't have a stable base to transplant. You could get some stems that flop over. If you're providing clones to others, you have to transplant it. You can't really give these bare root stems away or sell them or anything like that. So that's a downside. But my opinion on them is that they work. They'll get you fast roots. I don't think it scales commercially. I think it's great for a hobby level or small caregiver level. But once you get past, a few hundred clones, or 500 clones or something, man, the maintenance on the quantity of water that each of these machines require, depending on where you are, whether you need a water heater or water chiller to maintain proper temperatures. They're heavier, they're bulkier. To change out that water, you got to drain a lot of water, you got to refill shit. So it just doesn't scale as much, right? In my opinion, because I could get, plugs going mostly almost anywhere without any infrastructure like that's required for a cloning machine. So they're kind of just bigger, bulkier, and don't scale properly, but you gain the speed. But for me, usually a 14-day turn is perfect amount of speed because it fits in the cultivation schedule real nice. So can you get roots in 4 days, 5 days? Sure. Is your clone fully ready to go, fully acclimated, fully hardened off? Less likely, highly unlikely. And is it ready to go? Like if your room or your next steps aren't ready to go until day 14 anyways, what good is, it's kind of just whatever works for you. But my opinion is that they're bulky, they don't scale, but they'll get you, fast roots. And I think as I'm talking about this in my head in the background, it's like, well, what parameters is the root zone experiencing during that first week to get roots so fast? And how do I translate that into the rooting media that I have? And those trials and R&Ds that I'm going to be doing here, a lot more of, I'll be sharing that with the members. So that's going to be part of the updates too. So I'll probably do some clips for online, but the real nitty gritty stuff is going to be for the members only. So thanks for sparking that question in my head, where it's like, what's going on and how do I mimic that in the rooting plug? Let's see here. Next question. Premium Exotics 209 says, would the live SOP workshop that I mentioned earlier, if you didn't catch that, I'm going to be doing in-person SOP workshops. Premium Exotic says, is that 18 or 21 plus? It's at a dispensary. It's at a lounge. So I'm pretty sure it's 21 plus, but if you got a medical rec, you should be good at 18 plus. Pretty sure that's the rules and regulations. So if you're 18 plus, you got to have your medical card, medical recommendation. If you're 21 plus, then you're gravy. You're just an adult. So, but great question. It's a really good question. So I'll be sure to factor that into my my live SOP workshop notes as well. and get that confirmed from the facility as well. When is this? David G272 says, when is a seedling SOP dropping? I don't have a date on it yet, but it's the third or fourth time I've been asked on this live about it. So what does that tell me? Get it on there ASAP. And where is that going to be? It's going to be in the SOP membership at clonecoach.com. So not only do you get the world famous SOPs for your clones and mother plants, that's in there. You have a full pest and pathogen playbook, that's in there. You get all future updates like the seedling SOP, that's in there. The trials and R&Ds to get faster results, better results, that's in there, going to be in there. The math forms and things like that, I'm going to be having some electricity stuff. That's going to be in there. So if you want the best clones ever today, join the SOP. If you want ongoing updates and support for everything that's happening in the future, stay on the membership and you'll get everything. Next question here says, from La Caja Cuarto, says, from Mexico, how long do you pre-moistened rapid rooters last for? How long do pre-moistened rapid rooters last for? If they dry out, you just got to resaturate them. And then technically they should be good. But how long does the moisture last for? About a week, easy. Depends on your environment. If your clone plug is drying out, like bone dry, within that first week, something's wrong. Now, if they're like you've had them stored for a while, and the bag has been open, so they've been drying out, you're like, well, how long is this good for? Resaturate them, you should be good. If the bag is still holding the moisture and it's been in the same environment and not really too much of a big swing or not, you should still be good. If you're concerned, you could, treat the rapid rooters with something like a Zerotol dunk to kill stuff off and then resaturate and you're good to go. But how long does that pre-moistened rapid rooter last for? An easy week with the stem in it is a safe number. Let's see here. We got this question answered earlier. What's the power bill like on a big project? I've always wanted to ask because mostly everyone doing in the UK is bypassing electricity. We answered that question earlier from the UK there. La Caja Cuarto says, I have a clone that keeps drooping out of a tray of 10. Increase your plant count in your tray so you don't have a bunch of dead space. Make sure you are able to build up a solid layer of condensation on your dome. If you don't have that, you have only 10 clones in that dome, it's going to be too dry. You're going to get some droop. If your droop is happening early, it's too much moisture. If it's happening late or when you start letting it breathe, then it's not enough moisture. Let's see here. Let me find another question. Another question from Drew Pounds 9 says, when you water your trays, how much water are you putting on a 50 tray of rock? When I water my tray, I grab a tray, I dunk it, pull it up, pour out the excess, put it back on. I'm not individually watering. I'm not measuring out the water. I'm fully saturating the media as one, and I'm not leaving any water on the bottom of the trays, especially when the dome is still on. Kush Pops asked this question earlier. You got any cuts? Hit me up. I got Coach's candy ready for you. La Caja Cuarto says, thank you. Renee 805 says, ¿hablas español? Sí, hablo español, pero pues todo lo que sé de clones y eso, no es tan perfecto en español, porque no es tan común que estoy hablando de clones, domos, charrolas en español y eso. So, no me sé todas las palabras, pero suficiente para entenderte. Next question from Alpha Garden says, what's your preference on plugs, Rockwell AOKs, rapid rooters, etc.? We touched on that earlier. Pre-filled cocoa peat based plugs for commercial quantities, for me, work every time. David G27 says, what do you think about Elite 91's rooting compound? It's pretty much a phosphorus nutrient. There's no microbial activity. There's no rooting hormone. So I guess that's what they had to call it, a compound, because it's not a microbial or a hormone. People swear by it, but I read the label. I read the back of the label, look at the active ingredients, and I'm like, no, this is not really doing. It's not a hormone. It's not a microbial. It's anything like that. So not my favorite product. Let's see here. Getting down to the end, I think, of these questions. This episode is going long today, hour and a half into it, baby. Clone Questions Live, episode 60, the first one back after a nice little hiatus. Had some catching up to do, I guess. Here we go. Terps Genetics says, why does this seem like root right cubes root faster than Rockwell cubes? Because they do. Because they do. 506 says, do you believe in the best hours of the day to take clones or the moon stuff? I don't consider the moon when I'm in an indoor environment. So, no, I guess I don't believe. I'm not a believer. Next question here. I think it's the last one. The Solo Girl says, how long should I take my clones? Also from what part? How long? Call it the size of your scissor. And also from what part? If you're training your mother plants right, all tops. Don't take a top, a middle, a side, a bottom, and put them in the same tray. That's not starting on a consistent, uniform basis. Take your clones all from the top so they have uniform growth, they have uniform development, and you start with uniform trays. So where do I take them from? Tops, baby. If you don't have enough tops, then join the team. Maximize your clones per square foot on your mother plants with the mother plant SOP, and you'll be cloning nothing but tops. If you like that question, give me a couple likes down below. Renee says, ¿los clones los tiene aquí en California? Sí, aquí, en el sur de California. Si necesitas cantidades grandes, aquí estoy. Si necesitas solamente uno, pues te va a costar. Para solo agarrar ¿cómo se dice? ¿Genético? No, genetic. How do you say genetic in Spanish? Genetic, Spanish. Oh man, I'm not good with this one hand shit. Genético. Okay, yeah, I had it right. Yeah, so aquí tengo clones en California. So, si quieres, mándame un mensaje, un DM, y hablamos de ahí. Cuts available, shoot me DM. David G272 or G272 says, do you still sell your rooting powder? I don't see it on clonecoach.com. I don't, which is a tough pill to swallow. It's a lot harder to launch a consumable product that's federally not registered, there's federal oversight in the rooting hormone. Without it, if I try to develop my own product and go that route to get it registered, that's a route that takes 2+ years and about $40,000-$50,000. If I just want to skip that and cowboy that shit, I could do it for less, but commercial facilities can't use it because it's not registered. Okay. Hydro stores, especially big distribution, can't do much with it because it's not registered and their commercial buyers aren't going to be able to buy it. So there's a lot of issues with trying to develop your own product, a rooting hormone, and with the EPA involved. And if you want to go a brand new route and register something with the EPA, it takes you years and tens of thousands of dollars. Your last option is to find someone that is already registered with the EPA and is willing and able to sub-register their product to you, essentially white labeling. So that is option C, which there's a gel option, and I'm considering it, but it's still, it's a CPG product. It's still not easy, but that would be the only way that I could put more pedal to the metal with a rooting hormone of my own, is have something that's already registered, and that'd be a sub-registration to me, and that will, then I could get into stores, then commercial facilities can run it, can use it, then I could put some power behind it. But yeah, it's been a little tough. It's been a little journey trying to figure it out with consultants, with the EPA, with registration, with not registration, with if they catch you selling an unregistered product, well shit, then they come after you with fines. It's quite a bit to take on, So Mano Familian Faces says clones are $5 to $6 here. Where is here? Mano Familian Faces. Where are you based out of? And even when I first sold my first set of clones, they were like, yeah, we buy clones for like $3-4, dude. Because they're so used to buying shitty clones. Baby ass shitty clones all fucking scattered on a tray. So I don't blame them. But when I showed up with a solid tray of 50, all uniform, all green, all 6 inches tall, I demanded to get, I think, 5 or 6 at that time, which was 10 years ago. And then said, this is the lowest you'll ever get them for. We're going to get to 8 commercial quantity. And we did. So, $5 to $6 cut, it's usually going to be a greenhouse. It's either going to be a greenhouse, bulk quantity, and or just a shitty clone, because a quality clone should go for $8 to $10 each on in batches of 100 or more, with fairly easily, right? And there's pure value in that. If you're not producing the best clones, well, you can't produce the best price or command the best price. And that's not even the best price. That's still very, very fair. Because people are charging 15, $20 a clone. Different depends on your market and depends how much you buy. That's really the biggest factors. Quantity. Quantity is a question. Because if you're ordering 3,000 clones, sure, someone will sell them to you for $5-6 for sure. About 3,000 in one batch and is paid up front, COD or whatever, and that's the kind of size client you are, 100%. We can have that conversation. If you need 20 clones, no. You know what I mean? So it all depends. Mano Familian says, no, these are super uniform, but only a couple guys pull it off. Kern County. In LA, it works at 8 to 9. Yeah. 8 to 9 is fair. 10 is up there, but I think with the market right now, if you're selling 10, and it's just, you got to find the client that are willing to pay for it, and you got to have the quality to back it up, But yeah, I mean, you say you're the new Humboldt. If you're the new Humboldt, I assume there's commercial quantities, for 5 to 6, and like I said, for bigger stock, we can do it 100%. But it depends on the genetic, always, right? But if you just want a candy cut that everybody's running, the LCG, well, it's kind of hard to command premium price for something that's so saturated in the market. Now the demand is still there, but the exclusivity of that genetic, or what makes it special and exclusive, is not there. So, kind of hit and miss. So that's why just a standard 8 to 10 for just a nursery stock genetic is kind of where I like to play. And you could talk $6-7 or not really 5. I really don't ever want to go to 5 if you have the size order there to kind of fill that in, But Kern County, well, man, if you need some help with some clones out there, or some guys pulling it off, or there needs to be more people pulling it off, go to clonegoods.com. We can help you scale your nursery if you want to be that guy. Or if you need some help filling some orders, I'm also that guy. Bench Plug Benny, what's going on, brother? Bench Plug says, call me this weekend. If you got a second, dude, I'll call you right after this because I'm going to be getting off here. David says, can you still sell me a jar of the Rudate? I know you got some. I do got some. Hit me up, David. Show me a tea. I think I answered this question earlier, raising the humidity when you got 40 plants. You can't reach it. I got to see your room, right? Maybe you have too big of ceilings, not enough plants, too big of a room, incorrect equipment, blah, blah, blah. You tell me you got 50 plants, but you don't tell me what kind of space they're in. So I don't know how relevant that 50 plant count is, how big those mother plants are, how small they are, if you got any insulation or not. So many factors, Bench Plug, I'll hit you up right after this, brother. Soilless Farm says, can I learn everything I need in the month subscription? 100%. Because if you implement the SOPs right away, Soilless Farms, you'll get results in your very first batch. That's 14 days or less guaranteed. So you get multiple batches in that first 30 days. If you go straight to work, put it into action, don't skip over anything. Don't try to change it. Just trust the SOPs. Run it for 14 days and you'll see. Run it again. You could probably get 3 batches in, 2 or 3 batches in the first 30 days. So 100% you could get everything. That's why at $99 for that month, it's a killer fucking value. Killer value. So Soilless Farms, if you need to make the best clones ever and you want to make them in 14 days or less, go to clonecoach.com and join the team today. And I guarantee you'll be making the best clones ever. 14 days or less, guaranteed. All right, guaranteed. And that's why some people were like, oh, subscription, this and that. Like, dude, you could cancel anytime. Anytime you could cancel, But when you cancel, you do lose all future updates and continued support. So future updates like, future SOPs, like a seedling SOP, scaling your nursery SOP, tissue culture SOP, more documents, more trials and R&D, findings. That's going to be shared to the members that are there. So if you want all the future updates, that's the incentive to stay subscribed. And if you want to have a big savings in that, you could get the subscription for every 3 months or the year. And then you could really save on that cost drastically. So if you want all the future updates, get a bigger subscription or stay subscribed. If you just want what you got and you're happy with that, you can cancel anytime and you're good to go. So everybody, I appreciate everybody for joining this Clone Questions Live, episode 60, the first one back after a little hiatus that I've had. But we had an hour and a half long episode. It's the length of a movie, baby. I'm going to review this. I'm going to make some clips from this and all that good stuff. If you want to catch the full rerun, go to my YouTube channel. YouTube, just search Clone Coach on the clonecoach.com. Just Google it. Clone Coach everywhere, right? Join the team today. Make the best clones ever. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night.